difficult to say that you are committed to something, but you don't take the time to actually understand it. And this is actually a metaphor I had earlier, and I ain't gonna drag this out too much longer. But um, I thought about this. Right, is that if we were a football team, the Bible is our playbook. Um, God is our head coach, and our quarterback is the Holy Spirit. Right. Um, we are like wide receivers. And the interesting thing about football is if you like ever listen to them call plays, they'll do this like thing. They'll like say this phrase, this like combo phrase, and it'll be like, I don't know, air high, X Raider, XR, Alpha, right? And all those things mean something. And everybody on the team knows, oh, okay, he said, I don't even remember everything, so I'm probably gonna say like 9 of these during this like metaphor, but just stick with me. Alpha, AR, oh, he said Alpha at the end. Okay, cool. So that means I'm running a post route. I'm a run up like this, and I'm a boom post route. We out. Boom, boom. I'm running my post route, and you're responsible for running a post route because you read the playbook. Now, if you show up on the field and you don't know the playbook, the coach might not even have certain plays for you because you all bad, right? There was a story that I want to say Shannon Sharp had where like the quarterback had to keep telling him plays early on before you learn the playbook fully, right? But it worked out for him. And there is a time in the season when you're a babe where you can kind of just through the spirit and instinctively kind of figure things out. And you good, you know what I'm saying? But at a certain point, God expects a certain measure of maturity and sacrifice and submission and seriousness from all of us to understand what the playbook actually says. So then you got Alpha, Air Raid, Alpha, XR, Alpha, right? So then post route. So you've actually read it. You're to the point. You got to read it. Here's your route. Then you run post route. Boom, you score. Because the beauty of the post route is that you're running straight, but then bang. Especially if you got like footwork, like Devonta Smith or something. Boom. They think you're going straight, and then bam, you end up in position. Ooh. And the wild thing is too is about how they so the defense and clearly that's the devil world, etc. is standing in your way trying to stop you. Okay, cool. So you end up hitting your route. Boom, you catch the rock. Now they're defending you one on one. They can't deal with you one on one. Why? Because they thought you were going straight and then you pivoted. Why? Because God knew that that's where the ball was going, but they didn't know. So then the defense is double high. They up there. The safety's there, and the corner's guarding you, and it looks like it's double coverage. But the way that the play's set up, you ain't the only receiver on the field. So from time to time, there'll be people that set up in your life or set up around you, or that you don't even know that they have their own route. So you running a post route, they running straight, they running a streak, they running straight, boom. You running a post route, the safety got to make a decision. They end up guarding that person over there. You end up running your post route wide open, boom, caught the ball, touchdown, right? So then sometimes you the decoy. You running that post route, but it frees up the other guy that's trying to run that straight. And we got to be comfortable with that as believers. That sometimes it's not your game it's not your play, it's not your series to score. That's for somebody else. And you got to be comfortable with that. But your job, whether you're scoring or not, is to run that convincing post route. Is that this is the thing that the playbook has told me to do in this season. So sometimes I might want to lie because it's going to make it easier for me to deal with something. But I have to run my post route. There might be some times and some seasons in my life where I don't want to deal with the consequences of being a righteous person and telling I can't go to that or I can't do that. They might think I'm lame. But I got to run my post route though. I run my post route. And there's people in the stands, those fans, those non-believers, those unconnected people that aren't believers, that aren't connected to what we're doing. They're going to hear it and they're going to be like, well, but nah, man, you suck. And that's the wild part that's funny to me is that sometimes we'll like judge players instead of they need to be traded or whatever, but we don't know what's in the playbook and we don't know what the coordinator or the coach told them to do. So it could look like they're being ineffective or they're trash, but really they're not getting the ball because it's not for them. Or they ran a route right, but the ball didn't land where it was supposed to. Or they were setting up for something else. So that play, they looked bad, but they really were setting up for the fact that, well, this guy's about to get this here and that's going to be a touchdown, right? So they don't really understand. They're uninitiated. So I can't worry about what they're saying. Why? Because they don't understand yet. They're not in this playbook. They're not in these practices. They're not hearing from this coach. They're not talking to the quarterback. So I have to run my post route. That's all I got to focus on. And that's the beauty of it, right? Because his yoke is easy and his burden is light. So as long as I'm running my post route, ain't heavy burden. I'm straight. Then this weird thing happens sometimes, and this happens in the body all the time. And I think I may just clip this one part by itself. But where we'll have coaches, like assistant coaches that'll come next to us, and they'll be like, you'll go to the church, you hear somebody preach, or you'll be online, somebody's preaching, or you'll hear somebody say something that's just not true. And it's a temptation I think a lot of preachers have, where they'll like something preaches good, but it ain't really true, or it's like traditional, but they didn't research it themselves. So then they just start saying stuff, and it's not true, and it's dumb, and it just goes against whatever. And even some like commentaries are like that, where it's like in the Bible, like that's not really what that means. Who wrote this? But if you read enough of the Bible, you understand what the playbook says, so you ain't really tripping. So that coach will come in your ear like, yo, I know that, place at Alpha and you're supposed to run a post route, but I feel like on this one, you should run a slant. Now, you don't read the playbook, and you know that on the other side of the field, there's another wide receiver, and he's running a slant. And if he don't know that you running a slant, you're going to run into each other. And if the quarterback don't know if quarterback's throwing the ball where you're supposed to run a post route, but you ran a slant, there's nobody over there, and he wanted to give you the rock because he saw how the safety move now is in a position where there might be an interception. Why? Because you ran yourself out of position of what you were supposed to do because you listened to an assistant coach. And what's funny about judgment, right, is that we end up in a position, a situation where at the end of the game, the end of the season, we'll talk to the head coach and be like, well, why in that play did you run I told you the play was a post route. I call it alpha. Why didn't you run a post route? And you could say, well, I was talking to the assistant coach. And he told me that that play caused me to run a slant, that I should run a slant there. And then if you're a coach, right, your next response would be, I'm the head coach, though. And I wrote this playbook. And inside of this playbook, you're supposed to run a post route. That's what our focus needs to be. We read the 66 books. We understand what the playbook says. And it equips us to now be in a position where we can run our plays effectively without having people stand in our way. Because the wild part is that in the end, when we stand before God, or even in a situation where God has certain stuff lined up for us, if you have a rogue coach that's like, yo, you know what? I feel like that plays a post route, but I'm going to try to convince you that you're supposed to run a slant or you're supposed to run straight, and it's not an interception. You ran your post route, you get that catch. Then at that point, the next step isn't to bash the coach because they might be wrong. You don't got to spaz on a coach because they might be wrong. They might have just been off that day. We all human, right? But you go to the head coach and you say, like, most time you might need to deal with him because he was telling me post routes, but I mean, he was telling me slants. He was telling me to run streaks, but I heard you say post routes, and I read it, and it said post routes. And either A, he needs to get properly aligned with you, or B, he don't need to be coaching on his team because one of the two is out of whack. He might need to sit down for a season. Why? Because I was supposed to run a post routes.